Hey there, it's Clay with modernlove.life. Now, this video is probably going to be a little bit controversial. I've been considering making this video for the past few months, and I'm ready to do it now. If you're watching this, it's because at some point I have become ready and eventually actually made this video. But, people have asked me many times at some point or other, like, hey, do you think that using the law of attraction or the power of, positive thinking and all of that, do you think that could somehow help me to get my ex back? I've had mixed opinions about this for periods of time. When I was going through my breakup with my big ex, it was 2006, which I believe is actually when The Secret came out, which is when all this law of attraction stuff started to get really popular. And so, I did try some of that stuff, admittedly, back then when I was, going through my breakup and single and all that stuff. I tried it, and I can tell you that it didn't really work so well. However, with that being said, I have come to change my opinion about the law of attraction, and I'm going to be telling you about this in this video here. But this is something that I've been putting off for a while because I think it's pretty clear to most people anyway who have, seen me or heard me talk or whatever, at least a couple of times, that I'm a little bit of a left-brained kind of person here, okay? And when you usually hear people talk about the law of attraction and all of that, manifesting things, all of that sort of stuff, they're usually like really kind of right-brained people that are like, yeah, tap into the flow of the universe and all that stuff. And for whatever reason, I'm just not wired that way. I'm okay with that. For a while, I felt like I needed to be like more of the like right-brained sort of stuff. But I've come to find peace with who I am, and I'm totally okay with it. I'm a left brain kind of person. I get it. However, I do think that there are certain degrees of the law of attraction that can be explained rationally and logically. And I also think that there is something that does sort of defy conventional, obvious explanation. So let's get into the logical side of things first. So I think most people can agree that the way that you think has at least some effect and influence on your life. If you go into a relationship or let's just say a first date. If you're going on a first date or maybe meeting up with your ex, that's what this is all about. If you're going to meet up with your ex and it's been like the first time you've seen each other in a while, maybe you're really nervous and anxious and walking on eggshells and jittery and all of that. And if you show up in that sort of mindset, you may come across in a certain way that could cause them to think, okay, well, there's something really uncomfortable, there's something really out of alignment here, or something along those lines. And so that then can cause them to create more distance. You having this anxiety, you sort of dreading something coming up that's uncomfortable, something that you don't want, can kind of translate into your actions and behaviors, which then translates into how they receive your behaviors and then translates into their counter behavior to that. Like really, really easy way to describe this is like, okay, maybe you're really anxious about this. You start reading up on, I don't know, let's just say body language, okay? And then you memorize all this stuff about body language, and you're going into it, and you're so anxious about this. You're not trusting yourself, and you're showing up, and you're really trying to do all the body language stuff, read all the body language that they're sending out and everything. And maybe it's not going so well. Maybe you're picking up a lot of like crossed arms or whatever, and that causes you to get kind of anxious. That causes you to focus too much on body language. That causes you to get even more anxious. And that causes you to lose connection with the present moment. As you're losing connection with the present moment, you're not able to pick up on other cues, maybe be present in the conversation that you're having, or ask the right questions, or create that emotional connection in the moment, much like what we've been talking about in, videos on this channel, like advanced relational skills and all that stuff. Again, video card right up there. Check it out if you're interested. But this can then cause them to experience a lack of connection from you, which is then going to manifest to a certain degree this worry that you might have that you might not be able to connect with them. When it does come to this rational explanation, what we do want to do is we want to instead think about what it is we want to experience, how it is we want to bring ourselves into interacting with the situation, with the relationship, with the person, with whatever's at hand. And if we can then start to say, okay, I want to feel relaxed and calm and at ease, and we can start to embody that and then bring that energy into that first meetup, we're going to come across in a much different way. If you start to actually show up there legitimately relaxed, calm, at ease, ready to connect, in a great mood, all of that sort of stuff, you're probably going to have a much better outcome than if you were anxious and overanalyzing and not connected to the present moment. I think this is pretty obvious to most people. In that regard, yeah, I totally, absolutely agree that this is something that is in effect and at play, okay? That's why it is important to focus on what you want. That's why it is important to have a vision for what you want rather than what you don't want or what you want to move away from, and all of these things that they've taught people very well who have studied the law of attraction. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't want, and all that stuff. And so, with all that being said, I think that there is also an additional layer to all of this as well that defies logical explanation. I've had experiences in my life where I have had synchronicities and things just sort of line up in unexplainable ways that have come to support me and guide me in certain ways and in certain areas of my life. Just as for an example, many years ago, back in 2015, me and my wife were living in Asia. We were traveling around Asia for a year. And at the time, I was not able to work on Modern Love full time. I was only able to do it half-time, and the other part of the time I was actually helping out a friend with their online fitness business. I was kind of learning some chops about business and online marketing and stuff like that from them, and just kind of applying it to Modern Love and growing that business. And it was great, I was doing the whole digital nomad thing, traveling around and all of that. But the online fitness business was growing, Modern Love was growing, and it was just requiring more and more of my time to the point where many times I'd end up working 16 hours a day. And I'd feel a little bit foolish, to be honest with you, living in Asia, but barely ever getting out and experiencing all of these interesting and unusual things that you might experience living in another country, in another culture, and all of that. And so there was this thought that I was having, like, okay, do I try to make the current situation work? Do I maybe give up on Modern Love and go all in on the fitness thing? Do I let go of the fitness thing and do my own business, Modern Love? And I was going back and forth on this for a while. And, one day I was out at a coffee shop in Osaka, Japan, and I was just, sitting there with my journal, and I was writing about all of my, existential crisis. So which one do I do? What do I do? How do I make this work? And, I just decided to kind of let go and just say, okay, I'm going to get some sort of sign that's going to let me know what the right path for me is for what I want, the freedom, the success, and all of that. And I'm going to get this sign on my way home from this coffee shop. And so I kind of put out the intention that, okay, maybe there's this sort of special craft beer that I had kind of experienced a couple times in Japan that I might be able to find. It wasn't easy to find, but it wouldn't be unheard of to find it. And I thought, okay, well, maybe if I'm going through the sort of grocery store area in the basement of the department store that's connected to the subway, and I happen to find it, okay, maybe that's a cool sign that, okay, I should bet on myself, I should go all in on Modern Love, and I should make that work. And so I just kind of put that intention out there, finished up my coffee, and proceeded to go home at that point. And I went through the basement of the department store that's connected to the subway, because it's really the only possible place I could realistically find this beer on the way home, unless it just fell from the sky or something. And I just started walking around down there looking at what there was. And I turned a corner and there it was right there. Okay, cool. Interesting enough. So I went up there and I looked at the beer. And what was even more interesting was directly next to it was a Mexican microbrewed import beer. And this would be extremely uncommon to find something like this in Japan. I guess Japan is sort of known for having a very homogenous culture, but a lot of the products that you can choose from are actually quite homogenous as well too. Craft microbrew beer, especially from foreign countries, is quite rare. And so I saw this Mexican microbrew next to the specific beer that I was looking for, and it was called Pay the Ferryman Porter. That was very interesting because it was, number one, I like porters, which is a style of beer that I'm kind of into. I like the darker ones. But then I just had this very strange feeling that okay, this is somehow important. So I didn't get the beer that I thought I was going to get. I got the Mexican one, the Pay the Ferryman Porter. I bought it at the little kiosk at the grocery thing, and then I took it home. And then, when I got home, I started looking into this, the whole ferryman thing. If you don't know, I did some research on this, but it's the ferryman is someone who in ancient mythology would take you across the river Styx to go from the land of the living to the afterlife. And the whole idea is that, you want to pay the ferryman after he takes you across the river, because if you pay him before he takes you across the river, then he's going to, just take your money and knock you into the river and then go about whatever he's going to do. So you want to wait until you've actually crossed the river and then you pay him. And what are you supposed to pay him? You're supposed to pay him 2 gold coins, I guess, supposedly, according to mythology. And so I'm like, okay, this is about transition. Okay, this is about transitioning from one thing to another, paying the ferryman. If you're going to pay the ferryman, that implies that you've already crossed the river. And then, I'm sitting there taking the spare change that I had out of my pocket at the end of the day, and I put it on the table. And what I had were actually 2 500 yen coins, just from going out and getting the coffee and then the beer. 500 yen coins are, at least for me, very special. If you don't know, 500 yen is approximately $5. And so it's really kind of interesting and strange and cool that there's a coin that you can get in Japan that's $5. And so there I was looking at my change. It was 2 of these 500 yen coins. And I'm thinking okay, this is maybe what I'm supposed to pay the ferryman. This is interesting. And so I sat there and thought about it, and I was like, okay, this is my sign that I need to let go of the fitness thing, my friend's fitness business, and actually go all in on Modern Love, which is, the business that we started. And it was at that point that I, contacted my friend and let him know that okay, I'm gonna be taking my leave from this position and be going full-time on this other position for all these reasons that I talked about. And so, that is one sort of mystical experience that I had that I think shows me that there's something else beyond that's beyond our clear comprehension. There have been all sorts of other things. I mean, recently I've been putting out an intention of attracting a certain type of client, and strangely enough, for whatever reason that defies explanation, there's been a very dramatic shift in the type of people that have been reaching out to me and contacting me about potentially working together. There have been people that are up to interesting things in their lives, people that are even offering to help us in certain capacities. We had someone reach out who has a lot of experience with YouTube, and they're like, hey, there's some things that I think you could do to improve your YouTube channel. And I'm like, okay, sure. I'll take any advice I can get, because I'm doing my best here with this YouTube channel, but clearly there's something I'm not getting because there's other people out there that are growing a lot faster than me. So yeah, give me some advice. So you may have noticed that the format of the videos have changed a teeny tiny bit over the past couple of weeks. That's me trying out some new things. There's other interesting things as well too. Just, people that have been reaching out to me are people that are out there doing cool stuff. And I like that. I like people that are out there doing cool stuff, people that are out there, doing what they can do to have an impact in the world. If you're not there, that's not to say I'm not open to working with you, but I want you to at least be kind of interested in exploring what your impact on the world might be, not just kind of getting by from one day to the next. At least that's what makes an ideal client for me anyway. But yeah, I do believe in some sort of higher power that we can actually have a two-way communication with. I think that there are certain aspects of the law of attraction that definitely make a lot of logical sense, but I also believe that there is something that once we start to shift our way of being, once we start to shift how we're bringing ourselves to our life, to our interactions, to our relationships, that it will start to have a ripple effect and it will start to realign reality in some sort of unexplainable ways that could potentially either be for your benefit or for potentially a detriment, depending on how you're aligning yourself. But yeah, that is my belief about the law of attraction. That is what I've come to believe. I don't know if that will be my belief indefinitely, but that is what I believe right now in 2021. So I hope this clears that up. I do think that you can absolutely have dramatic effects on your life and your relationships through using the law of attraction. But it's about more than just wishing and hoping. It's about more than just, thinking about your ex. It's about working on your way of being and making sure that you're congruent with what it is that you claim that you want out there in your life. Of course, things like, what to text, what to say, and all that are important, but there is that deeper cut of who are you being? How are you coming across in your day-to-day life? And so with that being said, if you've stuck with me this far, and that is something that you do want to potentially explore working on, we do have our group coaching program where you'll work kind of intensively with me for 6 months. If you want to apply to join that, it's pretty selective. I'm not looking to get everyone to join, just like a small handful. But if you are interested, just go over to modernlove.life/quiz and feel free to fill out the application form. And if it makes sense for us to talk or potentially work together, we can go ahead and have that conversation. But again, I know it's not right for everyone. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's totally okay. Again, I'm not trying to get everyone in the world to go through this coaching program, just, a small handful of people that I can actually manageably work with. But anyway, I hope that answers your question about the law of attraction. If you did like this video, I know it's a little bit out there, at least compared to what I normally do, but if you did like this video, please help me out by hitting that thumbs up button. But yeah, I hope that helps you out, and I'll talk to you next time.